the African Ancestral Masquerade, what it is, why it exists, and what it taught men. When you see an African masquerade, you are not looking at entertainment, you are not looking at costume, you are not looking at dance, you are looking at ancestral presence made visible across Africa, from Igbo lands to Yoruba Isle, from Edo to Iwi, from Congo to Mali, and from North Africa to South Africa. The masquerade is a sacred institution. It is one of the oldest technologies our ancestors used to teach law, discipline, masculinity, morality, and cosmic order. The African ancestral masquerade is not someone wearing a mask. Once ritually activated, the masquerade becomes a vessel for ancestral forces. The mask represents the face of the ancestors, the costume represents the body of the spirit world, the movement represents ancestral language. When a masquerade emerges, the boundary between the living and the ancestors is opened. This is why masquerades do not speak like ordinary people, do not move casually, and do not behave like humans. They are governed by ancestral law. That is why masquerades command fear, respect, silence, and obedience, not through violence, but through moral authority. The masquerade held a central place in African societies. It enforced ancestral law when human authority failed. It restored moral balance in the land. It protected communities from spiritual pollution. It preserved historical memory, lineage continuity, and sacred order. When masquerades appeared, wrongdoing was exposed, disputes were settled, and the people were reminded that no act escapes ancestral sight. This is why elders say that the masquerade sees what humans hide. Masquerade institutions were closely tied to men, not because men were superior, but because men were burdened with responsibility. Men were trained to become guardians of communal order.
To carry masquerade knowledge, a man had to demonstrate discipline, restraint, secrecy, courage, and obedience to ancestral law. A reckless man, a gossiping man, or a spiritually unstable man could never be entrusted with masquerade authority. Through masquerade, men were taught self-mastery. Before a man could command fear or respect, he had to conquer his impulses. Training involved silence, fasting, endurance, night vigils, and submission to elders. Power was never given before character was formed. Men were also taught accountability to the unseen. Even when no human eye was watching, ancestral eyes were present. This produced men who feared moral collapse more than public embarrassment. The masquerade taught strength with restraint. Though powerful, masquerades were bound by strict rules. This showed men that true power is controlled force guided by ancestral ethics, not aggression or domination. Masquerade authority existed for protection, not oppression. It defended women, children, land, and lineage. Any man who misused masquerade power faced severe spiritual consequences, because ancestral power cannot be abused without imbalance. Men also learned lineage continuity. They were not owners of power but temporary carriers. Masquerade wisdom was held in trust for future generations, not personal glorification. Every masquerade operated under sacred oaths, taboos, and ritual laws. Breaking these laws brought spiritual consequences, not as punishment, but as natural imbalance. This ensured humility and prevented tyranny. No masquerade stood above ancestral law. The African ancestral masquerade was never entertainment, it was a school of manhood, a court of justice, a bridge between worlds. To understand masquerade is to understand how African societies produced disciplined, accountable, spiritually grounded men. When masquerade is reduced to costume and performance, ancestral wisdom is silenced. And when ancestral wisdom is silenced, society loses its moral spine. The ancestors are still watching, the ancestors are still teaching. The question is, are we listening?